DBJ, yet another product review of sorts. Monsters and Men for Within the Ring of Fire. Had to get the solid Dead Tree version. Absolutely love it. There are plenty of other Within the Ring of Fire reviews, especially about the Saga book. A few about Monsters and Men. There, like on the back, it says there's over 40 playable species. I'm going to focus on one specific thing. And in the center of the book, there are a large number of playable, suggested playable player character species that you can play. There are humans in Within the Ring of Fire. Each tribe dedicated to one of the 77 days in a cycle, kind of based on the 77 thrones. And in this book, there are other species. And again, I love the elementalness of this, the back to legendary creatures that I love, meaning that there are creatures in here that represent like rabbits and foxes and flies and snakes, lizards, tigers, lions, and things of that nature. There are humanoid versions of those creatures. And instead of just being essentially a human in that form, in this book it goes out of its way to describe everything from the species' religion, of course their breeding habits, what they value, what they trade in, whether they use coin, whether they eat other sentient species or not. Yes, Within the Ring of Fire, there is not just cannibalism, but the eating of other species, including other player characters' species. There is racial hatred and enmity, as well as races that get along. This game does not have common as a language. There is no one language that dominates the whole world. Most of the languages are created from the gods, and the gods that created those particular species. And those are the languages that they speak. Other people speaking other languages, mainly being blasphemous. I love this this book for the setting. You don't necessarily need it, although it does describe a lot of the natural creatures, mounts, because horses do not exist in this world. So it does describe a lot of the mounts, like there's giant caterpillars, moths, lizards that you can ride on, and these giant, almost like plains giants that you ride on, that are like nearly bipedal. Anyway, great supplement. Plenty of races in here that are awesome. Just their backgrounds, where goblins came from, and they came from the Hidden. The goblins in this world were created because of the god Loptif that killed Ishmael, that fell to the world of Kavega Thale, fell to the ground, and the dead god's body corrupted the land so much that it turned it into something called the Blue Ocean, which is a desert made of blue sand. Wow. What the hell? I love that. Just incredible. The gods in this world are part and parcel of this world. Although you could play it without them, I believe that you lose so much flavor. And I'm not a person that likes using religions in games. I've never felt comfortable with it. Not for any religious bent. I just felt that it was never done right. So finally I found a game where I feel like it's done correctly. And so now I can explore that part of my role-playing experience. But yes, there are plenty of player character races in this book. They are innumerable player character. Oh, turn to him again. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, player character races. Strange things there. Insectoid. Not all of them are humanoid, mind you. Not all of them are humanoid. So, very strange to encompass like all these different races and where they are and how they fit into the world. And I like that challenge because there's a lot of information. I mean, it tells you about their breeding habits, tells you about the kind of currency, like I said, currency or trade. It tells you about their marital status, family status, whether they believe in families, whether they leave their young. There are races, the fly race, they implant a larva into the bodies of dead foes and come back and the larvae eat each other until there's only one left and it grows into a player character. What the hell is that? I love it. So anyway, a very dark fantasy. There's a lot of death, destruction, murder, torture amongst all of these different races and their interactions with each other and how brutal it is. This game, Within the Ring of Fire, and the world that is in reminds me very much of a place where it seems that the gods have had this war, and they're almost using a Kavega Thale as like a battleground or test ground for which race, which god will ultimately obtain dominance over the universe. And the player characters are just victims in the gods' war, and it very much reminds me of what I would think people who lived in ancient Greece and Rome would feel like, because they would believe that the gods are around them, controlling their actions, and maybe the gods are ignoring humanity and just, they're just the innocent victims in this, war against the gods. Some people feel that the gods will have them ascend if they're loyal enough, and that's what this game is about. So, anyway, specifically, this was about monsters and men. The creatures in it, there are a lot of the natural creatures, the mounts and other creatures that you would find, monsters, things of that nature. A host of player characters, and the more powerful creatures like unicorns, vampires, skeletons, things of that nature. So anyway, this is the compendium book, and I'll just make a note that it kind of surprised me because these are not necessarily splat books. In other words, a splat book to me is a book that is not necessary for you to play the game. And although these books are technically not necessary, you can use the saga book. The problem would be that, for example, for this book details how you create a magi or a person of, to use like oracles, witches, druids, magi, that kind of thing. Without that, you could make it up and create it yourself and use it as a flavor kind of thing if you just used a saga book, which is what I would do normally. But if you have that book, sure, it allows you to do it using the specific rule set. This book, 77 Thrones, is the one to help you create basically the faithful. I hate using the word cleric because cleric is so vanilla. In this world, they're the faithful. There's even a stat on the character sheet, which you can get for free so far on a drive-through RPG. And it's love, hate, and piety, and you use very much your piety for this one. This one, thumbs up on that. 77 different religions. Wow. And this book, if you want, there is mention in the saga book of a large number of other races, and those races are detailed here in full. Their lifespans, their loves and hates, the languages they speak, the religions they are, how they marry, how they reproduce, what they find important. It even goes so far as to have there is a worldview, just a simple couple of lines. It is amazing what we can see from down here. Just a simple line to encapsulate what that race thinks of. This race right here, the Tuil, Tuil, They are like humanoid flies. They reproduce with that larva that I just mentioned earlier. And their worldview is the grand agenda of he who has many names must come to pass. Look, I mean, just a little flavor descriptor there that gives you so much information. I love how this game sparks. And am I speaking fanboyish? Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of hard to say. Meaning, like, I mean, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't waste my time. And the thing is, I feel just as good about this game like I do Eclipse Phase and Fate. Those are my games, and this is top notch. This is just one of them. I feel the same way about 50 Dungeons and Dragons. Just because this game was made by people that are not familiar with us. You know, we don't know them on a daily basis, but then we feel like Ander is like part of our environment because you've probably watched his videos for so long. You know, you kind of feel like, well, he's just this regular guy. These people are professionals. You're like, well, the way role-playing games are done now, there's not much of a division anymore. The people who made this game are just regular people, just like the guy who made this, or people who helped make this. You know, if you want to give Dungeons & Dragons a chance, they have a legacy behind them. Good words are said about this. All the people who thought that when they went to 4th edition, many people jumped off the bandwagon and was just like, screw it, I'm going to Pathfinder and I'll never change. There are a lot of fanboys out there about it. And I'm one of them. I love 50. Every game has its problems. You love it. True love means you love it despite that, and you absolutely accept the flaws that they have, understand what those flaws are, and love it anyway. Same thing with this. It has its flaws. I haven't played it enough to decipher all of the flaws. I will say that I'm not a big person that likes the advantage imperfection use in the game, but that is my own take on it. I suppose if I played with someone else, especially if I sat down across from them, I'd probably have a different point of view on it. It reminds me, it's not as splat booked as Pathfinder got with it, to no end, but it kind of reminds me of that, and so maybe I'm just gun shy from it. But it's easy to understand. I love it. Anyway, guys, thanks for tolerating my absence, and thanks for allowing me to spout off about, you know, a bunch of games and things, reviews on old games, new games, whatever. I've been trying to put out been off trying to write, to come up with some free content that I like to give to people, and it is far more difficult than I thought. Those people, there's some, by the way, RPG community, there are a lot of people who do many other things. They have like Patreon to help for you to help support what they do. They have websites and blogs that they continually update. They interview freelancers and people who work in the game industry. They're doing Kickstarters and whatnot. And please understand that if you are not in that industry, it is extremely difficult. It takes a lot of man hours, a lot of networking to get all those things together. So support your favorite game designer, game company, game maker. Support them. If someone gives you something for free, support them in another way. Buy another product, or buy a product and give it to someone else. Even if you don't like it, someone else may like that product. I'm not talking about what I just held up, but I'm saying, like, someone likes GURPS, support GURPS and buy a GURPS book for somebody else. Just support the RPG community. Believe me, people are not getting rich doing it. They're doing it because they love it. There's people, you know, the OSR, the, you know, old school Renaissance people, or old school rules, if you want to, you know, use it that way, that are doing these things for free. And it takes a lot of effort to compile all this information and to get it done, to give it to people without, you know, play testing it forever, without sitting on it for 12 years because this was your game world. just understand that it takes a lot of work. I see, trying to type up 15,000 words and all that. It's crazy. So anyway, as always, thanks for being patient with me. It's DBJ, and as always, always I end with create, don't destroy. So create an environment that's positive. I understand that many of us have our particular loves about one game system and we hate another game system. But like I said, if you love your game system, understand what limitations it has and understand that somebody else who loves their game system, to express to them, listen, I know you love your game system. Here are the limitations that I feel it has. Do you still love your game system despite that? And if those people say, yeah, I understand that. Like Dungeons and Dragons, I hate armor class. I hate hit points. I use it and I flow with it because that is part and parcel of the game system. I think it's built on old bones. But and alignment. Those are the three things that Dungeons and Dragons has always had conflict with: alignment, hit points, armor class. But guess what? I still love the game. I love 5th edition. You just tolerate it and you go, okay, that's what it is. I understand what it is. It is an extremely, narrative element in a game that is very numbered and oriented. So, I try to create a positive environment around it. I understand it. I don't try to destroy it, despite those things that I wish it had or did not have. So anyway, DBJ, and I'm out. Thanks for listening or watching.